After doing keto for 4.5 years now, when I hear people that are struggling with doing keto and they're looking for an easy button or a way to make it super simple, well, after doing it for so long, I feel like it is super simple, but then I think back to when I first started it, and it was hard, and I was always looking for some kind of shortcut to get around certain things. So based on my experiences, today I'm going to give you 5 things, in my personal opinion, that are going to make keto a lot easier for you. Number 1, to kick this off, is adding enough fat at the end of your meals. Now, in an ideal situation, when you're doing keto, you would want to eventually combine it with intermittent fasting, because this is going to apply to both of these for the most part. If you're having trouble going from meal to meal because you're used to eating, maybe 3 square meals a day and then having your snacks in between, or maybe multiple meals a day, but when you're doing keto, you want to keep it at 3 with no snacks. And ideally, you eventually want to get down to just 2 larger meals a day to maximize that weight loss so that you can get the maximum benefits from keto. But that's one of the biggest problems people have, is getting from meal to meal without having to have snacks. That's why you need to add more fat to the end of each meal so that you can go longer and make it to the next meal without being ravenously hungry and having to have a snack. Now, what are your options? There is a lot of different things that you can go with. I mean, you could just have 1 or 2 tablespoons of butter at the end of your meal if, that's what it takes, but you can do that. I've had people, I know people have done just peanut butter, almond butter. You've got fat bombs that you can make and buy, and there's just a lot of other choices. Any kind of healthy fat is going to increase the satiety that you have at the end of your meal so that you can make it to the next one easily. Number 2 is going to be staying within your carb limit while doing this. Now, typically, you hear about a carb limit that is 20 to 50 carbs. This 20 to 50 carb range can be very confusing to some people. And so let me lay it out like this. The only time that you want to go up to 50 carbs within your day is if you are working out. You're an avid gym goer, you're lifting weights, you're doing a ton of physical exercise, or you've got a job that's really physical demanding, then yeah, you'll probably be okay taking it up to 50 carbs. Now, if you're more towards the sedentary type or you don't exercise that often, that's when you're going to want to keep it at 20 carbs and below. You don't want any more than that, or 1, you're going to have a really hard time losing weight and not losing much weight at all like you want, or 2, you're going to stay stuck at the same weight, or 3, you might actually start gaining weight. When you're doing keto, that's the last thing you want, right? So just keep that in mind. 50 if you're very active, 20 and below if you're more sedentary and don't do a lot of physical activity. And another thing you have to keep in mind is what those 20 to 50 carbs consist of. Those 20 or 50 carbs can't consist of things like rice, waffles, crackers, bread, cereal, oats, no kind of stuff like that. Those are high glycemic foods. Okay, they're gonna spike your insulin up real high because they cause your blood sugar to rise. Now at that point, you're gonna be kicked right out of fat burning, and depending on how insulin resistant you are, it could take you anywhere from 24 to 72 hours to be able to get back into ketosis after consuming these types of carbohydrates. So the carbohydrates that you want to be in that 20 to 50 range need to come from stuff that is not highly glycemic. So we're talking like making different breads and things with almond flour instead of regular flour, or carbs that are coming from leafy greens, cruciferous vegetables, which honestly you don't have to even count because of the fiber content that buffers that out. And then you've got other amounts of carbs that might come from nuts, certain keto treats, and things like that. That's where the carbs need to be coming from. So keep the foods, low glycemic foods, and you will have a lot better time staying within your carb range and being able to get the weight loss benefits and actually be and stay in ketosis for a good amount of time. The third thing to make this easier is going to be keeping keto treats on hand. Keep them in your house, keep them with you when you're at work or on the go. You know you're going to be eating somewhere that's away from home. Now there's just absolute ton of these, and like earlier when I was talking about adding more fat with the meals, you could have that as something to satisfy your sweet tooth and to add more fat with the meal to give you that satiety, so you get a double whammy right there. That's the whole thing about it, and that's something that I personally struggled with a lot when I first started doing keto, was sweet cravings. I was an absolute carbaholic. I loved, you know, like barbecue sauce, the sweeter kinds, the sweet and spicy. There's always something sweet in the meal, something with sugar. And also on top of that, being that I quit cold turkey, that was very rough on me. I was very tortured for probably, I'd say, a good week without having much sweet stuff. Because back when I started doing it, here's the thing, there wasn't many keto treats like there is now. Now there's just absolutely tons of them. And instead of just having a list on here, just look down in the description at the end of this, and I'm gonna have a pretty decent list of different keto treats that I like and approve of and I think would help you guys. So be sure to check that out. I had to do this stuff just bare bones without many choices. I mean, there was a few things on the internet at the time. There was some keto recipes and stuff, and I would make those occasionally, but I'm kind of a lazy cook, so it's like I kind of just said, well, I'll make some of this stuff sweet once in a while and have it. But honestly, if more of these would have been available, it would help me out a lot. So just keep some on hand. And honestly, you can find these in a lot of stores. I see them in Walmart. I see them in Ingles, if you have an Ingles near you, if you know what that is. I know Costco's got them. Just look for them, they're out there. So when that sweet craving hits, you've got something to satisfy that's not gonna kick you out of fat burning. Number 4 is going to be a very sketchy one. And this is one you may have heard before, but it's avoiding hidden sugars in foods. Now, what exactly does that really mean? Hidden sugars. Hidden sugars are things that are not sugar, but they still spike your blood sugar and spike your insulin and kick you out of fat burning. Now, there's a lot of different ones, and I'll have a list down in the description that you can check out if you want to take a look at those instead of me rambling off a bunch of them. But just a few of them as an example is sucrose. Not sucralose, but sucrose is basically sugar. Straight out, simple sugar. You've got that, you've got dextrose, you've got maltodextrin, you've got modified food starch, you've got some things that have like potato starch in them, and they say that they're keto friendly, but then you look at the carbs and the fiber and they still got a good amount of carbs in them. Because I've seen a product that had potato starch in it, but it said it was keto friendly, but then you look at the macros and things just don't exactly add up. That's why when you're shopping and doing keto, until you get used to buying certain things, you've got to read the ingredient list and check for these things. So check out that list, take a screenshot of it, and take it with you the next time you go to the grocery store and just check the things that you're buying for this stuff and make sure that it's not in them. So number 5 is going to be a very big one and a very important one. Now this may seem simple at first, but you want to make sure that you keep your mineral levels up, your electrolytes. Now, obviously, a lot of people think when you say electrolytes or keeping your mineral levels up, some people think, well, it's just drinking more water. No, that's not going to do it. Drinking more water is actually going to flush your minerals out. We're talking about things like consuming a good quality mineral salt, like pink Himalayan or some kind of good quality sea salt. You've got Redmond's RealSalt. That's my personal favorite. That's a really high quality one. And then you have potassium and magnesium, which if you get a good quality mineral salt, those are going to be in it to some degree compared to table salt, which is bleached and just stripped of all the minerals that are in it, and all that's left is sodium. But we're talking about getting something of a higher amount. Now you could get in more potassium and magnesium through cruciferous vegetables, leafy greens, and if you can eat 7 to 10 cups a day like Dr. Berg recommends, then that's great. You can get your potassium and magnesium that way, but some people don't do well on fiber in general. It just tears them up and it bloats them. This is where you're going to want to opt for a good potassium citrate supplement and a good magnesium supplement. I don't have it with me right now, but it's by now and it's really inexpensive. At the time of shooting this, it's only like $7 and something for a big container of it. And that big container will last you probably a good month and a half or so. And then as far as magnesium goes, the best all around is going to be one of two. Now, I personally take Magnesium Malate by Doublewood Supplements. And I'll have a link in the description to all this stuff I'm talking about. But that is a good one for magnesium. But the most absorbable form of magnesium that you can take is going to be Magnesium Glycinate. That has up to like a 99% absorption rate within the body. And piggybacking off of that, another thing is going to be your trace minerals. You can lose these just as easily as your other minerals. And when you're doing keto, you're gonna lose a lot of water when you first doing keto because you don't have the carbohydrates to hold the water on your body, and losing all that fluid is gonna go your minerals also. So while doing keto, you do have to have more minerals to keep your mineral levels up. But trace minerals are just an extremely very important thing to be getting in your body. I've got a whole nother video linked up here on trace minerals that I did. So what we're looking at is make sure that you're taking in a good quality mineral salt. Try to get in more potassium and magnesium by leafy greens or supplementation, and then get a good quality trace mineral supplement. If you don't incorporate these things, you could end up with what they call the keto flu, the dreaded keto flu. Now, I got to experience this personally because I was the guy that went and started doing keto just cold turkey. I just quit the carbs. I got up one day, that was it. Okay. Now, that went good for about half the day, and then after that, I felt weak as a kitten. I felt like I could barely get off the bed, had no energy, no motivation. I was kind of lightheaded and had a slight headache on top of that. If you're just starting keto or you're doing keto and you're experiencing those things pretty often, it's because you're not putting the minerals back in. And all that simply really is, though, is dehydration. That's all it is. So don't go and chug a bunch of water thinking that's gonna help, because that's gonna make the problem worse. Just go for the 3 things I talked about with the minerals. And I promise you that you will not have to experience the dreaded keto flu, or if you feel like that it's coming on, you can load up on these and drive it off. As always, guys, I hope this helps, but keep it keto, keep it healthy, and I'll talk to you guys next week.